permits, or what are the best publicly available indices that can help me model out organic growth? Obviously, if more buildings get built, you need more admix, you need more mortar. What's a good way to think about that?
Well, I think if you're looking for data, obviously in the US you've got Dodge. Dodge Analytics will give you all kinds of information about the sort of the dollar value of construction permits being pulled. You've got CMD in Canada, and there's also a company called Reed. But Dodge is, I think, the best one. The thing to be careful of, obviously, that's looking at the total value of a project. It's also looking at the permits being pulled. If you pull a permit, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to build it. So I think it's a good market indicator. The other thing to bear in mind is that the dollar value of the sort of seeker addressable market is only about in the range of 2 to 4% of the total dollar value of a project. You aware of that? And again, it depends, because if it's something like a dam, there's a huge amount of concrete additives involved. Obviously the biggest thing is access and the cost of concrete, the cost of labor, the scaffolding, the cranes and that kind of stuff. The admixture part is small, but there's a ton of admixtures. But obviously there's no roofing. If you look at a mega project, for example, like the new Apple headquarters in Northern California, that was a classic case of there was everything available to Sika. Every target market except industrial adhesives, there was an opportunity to sell something. So you look at that, and so you might say the dam project, huge dollar value, but a big part of that's admixture. So that might be in the 2 to 2% range, where something like an Apple Center, a defined building, that could be in the 4% range of the total cost of the building.
Got it. And as you pointed out,
their addressable market.
Got it. And as you pointed out, Sika's products constitute a very small portion of the total cost, but an initial portion.
Correct.
So piggybacking on that, how would you qualify their pricing power?
Well, I think one of the things that Sika's done during my 32 years, or the last 15, they spent a lot of time educating the general managers and the senior management teams on pricing, is understanding your value proposition. And I think that's one of the things I think Sika is solid in doing, is do a comparison. They're never going to be a Hyundai. They're always going to be like a BMW, and you get what you pay for. It's a good product. It's well represented. They spend the time to get it specified. The technical support is solid. So the whole goal is that your actual cost in use is competitive in terms of everything else, but you're never going to get, if you look at sort of cost per liter or cost per kilo, Sika will never be the cheapest. Not their nature.
Got it.
They're not going to play. They're not going to play in the Hyundai field. You buy from Sika. Is their whole goal is to give you, you're the client. We're going to give you the building that you want, the performance of our materials that you want. But we're never going to be the cheapest. But in terms of cost and use, they focused on that, making sure that people understood what cost and use meant and what their value proposition was to a customer, as opposed to just being the cheapest. It's not their skill set.
Got it. So can you maybe just walk me through just a conversation between Sika and the customer? How do they elucidate the value proposition? How does it work in general?
Okay, so it varies by target market. So you look at something like roofing. If you want to get, Sika, say in North America, focuses on single-ply PVC roofing. It's manufactured in Boston, and they will go out and say, okay, we will offer you a 30-year warranty. Okay, this is a true 30-year warranty where they will fix or replace what's necessary so that the building is, the roof is whole and keeps the water out for that entire 30-year period. A great example was, say, for example, Calgary Saddle Dome, where, they got a specification 30 years ago. The old Calgary Saddle Dome was roofed with Sika. It was not the cheapest, but it provided the most comprehensive guarantee. And again, you've got a building that's a prestigious building. It simply cannot leak, if you know what I mean. And then 30 years later, when the warranty expired, there was no hesitation in re-roofing, with Sika Sarnafil. They had no hiring at a sort of a junior level. I'm trying to think. I joined as a plant manager in California, and one of their goals is flow through of employees. Is that they very rarely hire from outside at a senior level. They try and flow people through the organization to the senior management level. I was a good example. I look at Sika Canada, for example, but one stage, Sika Canada, all the years I was there, we were the source of, I think, 11 general managers around the world of Sika. People passed through the organization, started out in sales, became a sales manager, became a senior manager, and then became a general manager in another part of the world for Sika. The guy that succeeded me, he worked for me for a while, then he went and became general manager of Sika Portugal. And then when I had decided to retire, he came back to take over from me. They're very good at developing. They're good at hiring, and they're good at developing people, and they're good at keeping people.
Got it. And just, I know you touched on their ability to pass through pricing and do efficiencies. If we assume that there's a global construction downturn, what are the hypothetical levers, again, that they could pull to weather that better than, say, just a housing builder?
Well, I think if you look at look at their product offering, if you're not building new, you're repairing. So there is a balance between the new construction business and the restoration business. Now, obviously, it depends on the market. But if you look at like the developed world, like say North America or Europe, if they're not building new, then they have to repair the old. And even if there is a downturn, yes, there will be some effect on revenue and profitability, but the Sika is capable of then switching into sort of the restoration mode and really pushing their repair and protection products. So, I look at, say, give a good example, 2008, when we had the downturn here in North America, is that, we sat as a management team in North America and said, okay, what are we going to do? We're facing a significant downturn. And we switched our focus to repair and protection or restoration of existing structures very quickly. And the strangest thing happened is that Sika Canada actually grew in 2008 and 2009, despite the downturn in new construction. Okay, I think the U.S. went down a little bit, but nowhere near as much as the percentage decline in new construction, not even close. So you've got to look at this balance. Is it new construction, which is great when the economy is booming, but they've also got a significant proportion that is, restoration based, and that tends to come to the fore when the economy, in the Western world, turns sour. In the developing world, it's a little more tricky because they tend to be much more heavily dependent upon new construction. So if that goes south, they will be hit a little harder. But again, you look at the demographics of Sika's business, Europe and North America are still the lion's share of the business. So they are in a good position to weather a storm.
Got it. Have you been following the share at all?
I have been, yes.
Got it. Just in your opinion,
I don't have any shares anymore. I should tell you that. I sold mine a long while away, but that was for tax reasons.
Understood. But if basically my job is to try to understand whether the shares are good value or not. If you have been following, what's your thought on the stock? I understand it's a great business, but do you have any views on the share itself? Would be helpful.
Well, now that the Saint-Gobain thing is resolved and they've made this change to the stock, one of my comments I would sort of say many years ago, because I think my first shares with them were on the old structure, where I got in around sort of 600, and then they ended up, I think, at one stage, something ridiculous, 3,000 or 4,000 Swiss francs a share before they restructured. And I think every year we kept saying, it can't keep doing this, but every year it does. And I think it's a testament to how solid the business is it continuously outperforms what they think it's going to do. And I feel confident now that you might look at it and say, yeah, it's a little overpriced. It's a heavy price to earnings ratio. But the company continues to find a way to perform. Even though I think, you look at those H2 results, there is this downturn in profitability. I know the CEO well, Paul Schuler. I worked for him for 5 years. He'll find a way to turn that around. Okay, it might not happen in H2, but I think in 2019, he'll find a way to get the company going in the right direction. He's a real bulldog. Great
Got it.